Hey, Mo,
Look,
the doctor is in.
I was just gonna say, it looks like the doctor is in. Hey, I'm so excited to see you today.
I'm so
Oh,
excited to see you.
how
And
you
you know,
feeling?
I'm feeling great, thanks. I'm feeling great. And Haley Dinneman's going to join us in a minute. She's having a little local technical difficulty, but here she comes. But we are doing our pink table talk. There's Haley. Haley, we just went live where the doctor is in and turn your phone sideways.
It's our pink table talk, everybody.
Yep. And we are so excited to talk with this family today. So, I'm going to kick it off by letting our guest of honor, our badass, amazing force of nature, breasty, Deltra, introduce herself and her family to us.
Okay.
Well, hi everyone. I'm of course Deltra, and I have with me my mama, Carolyn, and I have my youngest daughter, Charlotte. What's your name? You wanted to introduce yourself? Charlotte. And my oldest daughter, Allie. I have 5 girls, but we just have we planned for the oldest. The youngest just decided to join us. She may not stay the whole time, but that's okay.
But she had to show off that hair bow.
She did, yes.
Absolutely.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Haley's still trying to get her act together. So I'll kind of describe. So Haley and I had this idea. Oh my gosh, it's been like 2 years now to develop this thing called Pink Table Talk. And our original idea was we would go to people's houses and talk to 3 generations of family members, like the mom, the daughter, the grandma, like we are today, and talk about what your her story is. Talk about breast cancer. And because we believe that, Black families just don't talk enough about disease. And we think breast cancer should be on the kitchen table. It should be something you talk about, about. It's at puberty, and there's Haley. And so we came up with this idea. And so we're doing sort of the COVID modification for it. But Haley, you want to add anything to kind of the description of our little brainchild here?
Well, I'm not really, since I just joined in, I was just able to join in. I didn't hear what you said, so forgive me if I'm repeating, but we realized how many important health conversations or conversations in general happen around a kitchen table. And that was the concept behind this, to have these multi-generational discussions where women can learn their her story, as we like to call it, and hopefully to their benefit. So we're really excited to partner with you on this program.
Yeah. So, I'm on the board of the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation. We do a lot of stuff with them. And, Haley helped me out so much when I was sick. And so, she's like our best partner friend. So here we are with our Pink Table Talk. So
I got my mug. I'm missing you guys in person though. I gotta say, I'm missing you. A toast. I want to talk for a few minutes though. Let's kick a little science, because we like to educate people with our show every week, and so there's this term, de novo breast cancer, right? Stage 4 de novo. And what that means is it means that your breast cancer, by the time it was diagnosed, it was already metastatic. Now, metastatic is a little bit different than metastasis, because people get this confused all the time. Cancer can spread to the lymph nodes, but that doesn't mean you have metastatic breast cancer or stage 4. When cancer spreads to the lymph nodes, it spreads through the process of metastasis or spread, but that's still what we call locally advanced. So cancer that's in the breast and the lymph nodes is locally advanced. Once it leaves and goes elsewhere, then it is considered stage 4 or metastatic breast cancer. So people who are diagnosed with de novo means that at the time that they were diagnosed, it was already somewhere else. And this is kind of a rare sort of breast cancer. We're learning that there are more and more people, despite earlier screening, despite more frequent screening, despite the availability of screening, even in many third world countries, we're still finding a lot of people have cancer that's already spread by the time it's diagnosed. And what we're learning is that even though it's only maybe 3 to 6% of all newly diagnosed breast cancers, it is its own unique entity in that some are more aggressive than others. For example, people who have the subtype, the ERPR positive, they're hormone receptor positive, they have a lot more treatment options than some people who are triple negative, in which case that breast cancer doesn't have the hormone blocker option. And so this is something we got to talk about because the mortality it's high for it. Although we all know and we see and we talk to our survivors and our breasties and our thrivers, our metavivors every single day, and people are living longer with stage 4 de novo breast cancer. And so it's a great conversation to have because we find it in young people who aren't even old enough to be screened sometimes. And we got to start unlocking the secrets around these conversations in our family so that we can be in the know and so we can do the best things to live long, healthy, and happy lives and see our families thrive and do better with this disease, because breast cancer is unique. It's not the same disease, even when it's the same stage. It's different in every single person. So we want to hear these stories, and we're going to talk about, everything from our emotions to our health to our mental to our spiritual well-being, and give people some news and some hope today. So Deltra, I will let you take it away because we want to hear all about you.
Oh, wow. No pressure. Where do I start? So I guess I'll just start with kind of sharing my diagnosis story. In summer of 2019, I, like many women my age who are under 40, discovered a lump myself. I don't even remember like the exact moment that I did, because it wasn't some like huge moment for me or very concerning, because I didn't have any known family history, so it was not at the forefront of my mind whatsoever. But I still decided to take it seriously and went to my doctor, and I'm really grateful because I hear so many stories of women my age who are younger who get really basically blown off by doctors when they come to them and express concern, for something happening in their body. But mine was really swift with, lining up appointments so we could look into what was going on, what this lump I had discovered was. But despite that, like you just mentioned with de novo, I was diagnosed stage 4 de novo. And we moved really quickly with everything. But these things still happen. So yeah, I went and saw my doctor same exact week. I was having an ultrasound, and then the following week I was having a biopsy. And just 3 days after that biopsy, I got a call from my really wonderful doctor, but she was about to go on a vacation. So that's why she was calling me instead of pulling me in her office. And she let me know that the biopsy had came back and, it was unfortunately cancer. From there, it was kind of a whirlwind of scans and tests. I really do applaud the team because they were very thorough. And I honestly hear from other people who believe that they were stage 4 from the beginning as well. But they just didn't get they did not get the same amount of scans that I did right from the get-go. It took a few weeks for my staging, and they were really sure because they were very thorough in doing all the scans. When my scans came back, I had bone scan and different things. When my scans came back, there was a tiny spot in my liver. And I remember really clearly my oncologist being like, oh, don't stress about it. Everyone has some shit in their liver, excuse my language. She's a teenager. So I just was like, okay, well, then I'm not going to stress about it. And I really didn't. I was mentally and emotionally, I was still very much taking in just hearing that I had cancer, period. But in my head, I was also preparing kind of for battle, basically, because our society, cancer is very much, there's a lot of battle language used. And so I was kind of just getting in that mode, like, all right, we're going to be done with these scans soon and figuring out exactly what this is. And then we're going to do, this. Maybe I might have to do chemo, whatever. So it was not even, just like cancer in general was not anywhere on my radar. Um, having, metastatic breast cancer was like way like this, can't happen to me type of thing in my head. But when those, biopsy results for the spot in the liver came back, and my doctor let me know that it was, indeed breast cancer that had metastasized to the liver, obviously the whole plan changed. But here we are, 2 years later on this coming Monday. I feel good. I obviously look good.
You look good, girl. You look good.
And yeah, I'm just in a very different place. Especially as far as emotionally, where I was then, I really had to find and lean on, community. And that's still a really big, important thing for me. But now it's not just me leaning on other people, it's me giving back to that same community, and letting people lean on me when they're in that, especially when they're in that dark space of being newly diagnosed.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you talk a little bit about some of the treatments that you received? Did you undergo surgery? Did you have your ovaries removed, things like that?
So one thing I definitely get a lot is people being confused that I haven't had any top surgery. But as you might know, that's pretty uncommon when you're diagnosed stage 4 from the beginning. It's not really a standard of care. So I didn't receive any surgery that we had originally discussed. Like we had discussed maybe a lumpectomy or something might need to occur. Once we, got the stage 4 diagnosis, then that changed up. So we started with IV chemo, which is really the most common treatment, as you know, Ricky, for triple negative, which is my subtype. So we started with immunotherapy and IV chemo. And within the first 2 months, it knocked out the liver metastasis. And I continued on that until this past November. And then we changed over, the lump in my breast started regrowing. And so we switched to a different IV chemo. So still IV chemo, but we switched to a different IV chemo. And I've been doing well on that as well. The only surgery that I endured was, what is it called? A oophorectomy. So I had my ovaries removed last summer.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think that the management of stage 4 breast cancer is changing. And so patients sometimes will wonder, well, why aren't we doing the surgery to remove this remove this source? And it's challenging because the standard of care, like you said, the algorithm that most of the doctors follow is that I want to do a surgery that could be life-saving. And if doing a surgery isn't going to save your life right now, then that's not the thing I should do for you. Right. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that there isn't an opportunity to do that surgery later, yes. And so I think this conversation needs to keep happening over and over again. Is it ever time for surgery? And making sure that your surgeon is part of your team is really important, but making sure that you treat the whole body. Once cancer spreads and leaves the breast, it's now a systemic, it's a body-wide issue, and you have to do body-wide treatments. And a lot of people don't understand that, and they think that the surgery is going to be the cure, and it's not necessarily the case. And I think that, you sharing that is so powerful, because other people need to understand that too, that there can be a role. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like to have your ovaries removed, or at some point maybe to take out that lump or do mastectomies or other things. Yeah. But, surgeons, we're a hammer looking for a nail sometimes, and it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. And so patients really got to make sure you talk to your doctors and get good information, so you don't have metastatic disease and you're getting a surgery that you don't necessarily need right now, when what you need first is something like a chemotherapy.
Yeah, it always puzzles me that we that you don't have a mastectomy. and you know, like, well, cut it out, you know, but you do need chemo first, and immunotherapy is such a great thing. Yeah.
It really is. And like I said, there's a time and there's a role for surgery. And I don't like it when surgeons say, well, I'm done with you. And they're just, you know, they don't see these patients back again because, you know, this cancer journey is that it's a journey, right? It's not just a one and done. Like you got to see these doctors every couple of months. You're checking in and you're circling back with your surgeons and with your different doctors to decide what's best for you at this point in time, not just what you were diagnosed with, you know, 6 months or a year ago. Like you are living with this disease. It's chronic now.
It's in the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Deltra, who'd you tell first that you had cancer?
Who I told first was I'll take your term, my husband now. So when I got the call, I was home alone with kids and I took the call in my bathroom. And then, you know, did what mamas do and just put on strong face and went back out. I mean, I was really just in shock. So, but later that evening after kids were in bed, I called him and let him know what was going on. And then I let my mom and my sister know.
Great. And what did mom, so what was your reaction when she called you that day?
Oh. So, you know, I'm a strong believer, and I said, you know, this is not your battle, you know, it's the Lord's, and we're gonna be here for you. I'm gonna be here for you, and you have family support, and that's what I've just been being very supportive, even when she's in her moody moods that she gets in with me when I ask questions. But yeah, it hit me hard because she's stuck with my baby girl. I have two girls.
Hey, mom, can you lean over a little bit closer to Delta so we can hear you a little better? Yeah.
Yeah, I have two girls, and Delta's my baby girl. So it hit me very hard when the diagnosis came back that it was cancer, because we don't have any history of breast cancer, lung cancer. My father had lung cancer, but no breast cancer. When she first found it,
Delta, put your arm around your mom and hold her closer to you.
Come closer.
Okay, but I was so sure it was cancer, but then when I found out it was, and then after she went through the scans and about all that stuff, and then it came back that it was triple negative, and you know it wasn't good, and she, you know, had her up and down days, but she's good. She's good. She's a strong woman, and I keep encouraging her. You're strong. You know, we're strong women, and we're strong Black women, and we're gonna beat this. Okay, and God has you. You know, I know you have days when you don't feel like it's worth it anymore. You know, this battle, but give it to God and just keep moving, you know, and that's what she does. She's very encouraging to other people who are battling it. And,
Yes.
you know, she's always on something, speaking or doing some engagement for cancer, you know, so she's on it. And I'm very proud of her.
You should be. She's on it. She is on it. She's helping so many people, you know. So,
Delta,
so that's,
5 girls at the same time. Raising children isn't easy, you know, so. And not feeling well the days that she don't feel well.
the days when she don't.
and five girls. Woo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Delta,
No,
talk to me about faith, right? Because some people think that their faith supersedes their actions and that it is the faith that's going to make stuff happen. And some people take that faith and they run with it and they do stuff with it. And there's a difference in philosophy that sometimes results in different outcomes, right? And so talk to us about your faith and how it's sort of grown and matured through this process, and what does it enable you to do, and you know, when you feel afraid or when you're not sure or when you are talking to people and doing advocacy work. Like talk to us a little bit about that transition from fear into something else.
Well, I will say, if you were referring to faith as like religion, that's my mama. She definitely and my
oldest daughter.
her and my big sister are
Tell
my
it all. That's
people.
right.
Yes, they're my people when I'm like, I just am not feeling like, God, where are you in this? Like, I'm angry. Or if I just have a breakdown, I'm like, listen, I just need y'all to be praying for me or pray with me or something. They always got
And
me.
we do.
They
We
do. But for myself, you know, faith is kind of detached from religion, but it's still very real in my life and powerful. A thing that helped me transit, I mean, not that I don't still have moments of fear, you know, but something that just has helped me, like I said before, is community. And I really have kind of, you know, searched out and, you know, cling to stories that are so inspiring, you know, like Dr. Mo said, there are people who, you know, live with this disease for a good amount of time. And ultimately, I just kind of believe now, as much as it, you know, getting a diagnosis like this sucks, that it was supposed to be a part of my story and that it's part of, you know, my purpose in life, you know, encouraging other people and such. And I kind of now think of it as at least with advocacy work and within the community, as almost like a passing of the torch. Like when I was newly diagnosed, it was really hard to deal with losses in the community, you know, and I would make friends, you know, with people who were doing really great things in the breast cancer community. And when they were passed, there was a good amount of time where I just could not even like look at their photos if they came up online. And now when I, you know, see something of them or even just think of them, I just feel like, you know, oh, they inspire me. They continue to inspire me. I wish they could see, you know, where I'm at now, as opposed to in those very dark days when I was leaning on them because I was about to fall over, you know, when I was newly diagnosed. And it's something that keeps me running. And I just start to feel like I'll be here as long as I'm supposed to be, and I'll do what I'm supposed to do. And then there'll just be more passing the torch in this community.
Wow.
Rusty, love to you, and that's what you are doing. I think that you know, it does give us our purpose. I feel the same way, that, you know, and not that we didn't have one before with 5 kids, and I had 2 daughters, you know, 2 daughters. So, but it is a path I think that God puts us on. I know God left me here to do this work too. So I applaud you, because I think you're really in the lane you're supposed to be in, and you're rocking it every day, rocking it every day.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah.
how'd you tell the girls? How'd you tell the girls?
Gosh. Well, it was not, you know, I really was racking my brain how to talk to them about it. It was definitely important to me to just be open and honest, because that's how, and age appropriate, because that's very much how I've approached all subjects with them. Because there's such a wide range of ages, mine from, you know, at the time they were like 4 to 13 or something, I decided, you know, that I did not want to like sit them all down together and let them know what was happening. So I just kind of took my time with it, because it's a lot to wrap your own mind around, you know. And sometimes I even had to revisit it, you know, discussing it with them, because especially for the little ones, it's a lot to wrap their mind around. And, you know, mommy looks fine and everything. And so sometimes they'll like forget until I have something going on, like, oh, I tell them, oh, I had to go to chemo today or whatever, you know. Do you remember when you were told? No, it doesn't sound bad. I was asking her if she remembers when she found out that I have cancer. She said it sounds bad, but she don't remember. But that's fine. That means it wasn't a traumatic moment, maybe.
Right. Well, Allie, talk to us. You talk. Hug Allie too, so she can get
So we
to the
can hear.
What'd you say, Dave?
Talk louder. She wants to know what you want her to speak to.
Oh, just when you found out, how'd you feel? When you found out about your mom's cancer, how'd you feel? Pull her over a little bit, Deb.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just tough to hear.
Yeah. Can't hear her.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We can't hear you, babe.
Can you hear me
So-
now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
At first, actually, I really don't remember how I felt. It didn't really hit me too hard until later on. It was like, well, I'm sure it's gonna be okay and stuff like that. I don't know. I didn't want to be like really negative about the situation, which to be honest, I usually am pretty negative about things. But I didn't want to be about this. I was like, it's gonna be fine. And it didn't hit me till like a few months later, and I did start to worry about it a little bit. And I was just thinking about it because my sisters are like way younger than me and stuff like that, and I wouldn't want them to have to grow up without her or anything like that, like not remember her or something.
So, do you feel like you have a load on you because you have to help her with your sisters, or do you feel, and you were doing that anyway, right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm losing them or something. Like now I don't feel like it's like a load on me or anything. I really don't mind.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we all have to pitch in. I'll tell you, Delta, the thing is, it not only gives your life purpose, but it definitely gives a sense of purpose and a different trajectory to even your children's lives. When I think about my mom with cancer, my grandmother with breast cancer, bilateral, like I grew up fast and I learned what it means to help somebody. And I learned, a lot of things that you don't learn in school or anywhere else. And it sparked this interest in science and cancer and all these things. And so you never know what seeds, God or the universe is planting even in your own family that grow into some pretty amazing things. And so that's the thing about cancer, is that it changes the trajectory of everybody's life, right? Like it affects the whole family, not just you, but everybody around you.
Everybody.
It really does. And whenever people have said to me, like, I don't know how to tell my children, or especially people who are early stagers. So, it's treatment has an end in sight for them. I've heard of people who just don't, like they will hide it. They will just go through treatment. They want to, be strong for the kids. But I always encourage them, why not? Why would you want your children to miss out on the opportunity to like practice compassion and see we're moms, we're human. We're not one-dimensional. We don't know everything. We don't have all the answers. And it's okay to let your kids know that. It's okay to say, I'm scared too, or I don't know that also. No problem. And it's okay to show emotion. It's okay for your kids to see you just being human and having a really off day, not feeling well, and gives them the opportunity to step up and be a help.
Tell me more about that, because what I'm hearing you saying is, when we think of strength, right? Especially as Black women, we think of strength as powering through, not showing emotion, not dropping the ball, and putting everybody else first. That's
Absolutely.
like the Black women's credo for what strength is. And maybe it's all
Yes.
women. I don't think it's just unique to Black women,
No.
right? Right, Haley? I think that women in general.
Right.
Exactly.
I do. I think it's women, it's mothers, it's just, we're the nurturers, we're the ones that are supposed to, put our own needs aside for the benefit of the family. I think it's a universal thing, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now how do you define strength? How do you redefine strength?
Gosh, that's such a good question. I just think there's lots of strength in realness. I always feel like if I didn't do anything else in this human experience, I'll certainly have kept it real and like felt the full range of all emotions and everything. I think that strength is sometimes, showing your weakness. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to speak up and say, I'm not good. Like, I need help. Either I'm not feeling good physically, or I'm not, I'm in a dark place mentally, because a huge component of this type of diagnosis is depression, especially in metastatic women. Like it wreaks havoc in our community. So I think people need to know, like, it's okay to say that you're not okay.
Yeah, thank God for the Olympics. Look at our little gymnast. She came out and
Yes.
you know, you posted about Simone. She's a little badass, but to be able to say, you know, she let her weakness be a strength, and she opened a door to a conversation. You know, I kind of named this episode, "The conversations we are not having are killing us," right? Because we need to be talking about all this stuff. Really, we do. I was on a call earlier today about the mental health impact of breast cancer. And I was saying, you know, I didn't realize I had mental health issues. I didn't realize, you know, I mean, you don't think about it, like you're like, oh my God, you're diagnosed with breast cancer. But I didn't think, well, maybe I should see a psychiatrist, or maybe I, you know, maybe I could have someone help me with these feelings I'm having. But it's such a big part of it because your psyche has to stay strong to fight.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was really grateful. You know, I have such an awesome team. And one of the things that my oncologist who delivered my diagnosis did for me was schedule me an appointment with my therapist the same day that she let me know that I was stage 4. Like she had it lined up for me.
Wow.
And that was awesome.
What a blessing.
I think that's incredible. And you know, Ricky, I think 5 years ago, 1 year ago, even 6 months ago, and even to this day, people like, you know, Simone and Naomi Osaka are being ridiculed because they're able to tap into that vulnerability, and not even just tap in, but be like, you know what, I just can't right now. And it's okay that I can't. And there's this new sort of era of being okay, not being okay, and like being authentic about it, and letting that be the source of strength. And it really is kind of a new day for those things. And you know, Deltra, when you think about it, like even the emphasis now on breast cancer and on the disparity in breast cancer, it's been there for years, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I can keep going, right? But this is a really, I think it's an exciting time. And I guess I wonder if you guys can comment on what you see as the momentum in this breast cancer movement, if you will, especially as it relates to triple negative, as it relates to Black women, as it relates to mental health. Like this is, you know, is when I talk to young doctors and students, I'm like, this is an exciting time to be practicing medicine. Don't feel like, what am I walking into? Be excited about the opportunities and the chances that there are. And I'm not saying people should be excited about breast cancer, but there's some real opportunities. Like for the Breast of Us, that organization that you're a part of didn't exist. Young women were out there floating and had no idea of what resources, or that they weren't alone. Really deep.
Yeah.
Mary.
Hug mom so you can hear her better. Hug mom. I'm making you guys have a love fest. Start over, mom. We can't hear you. So what did you just say?
For the Breast of Us group and groups like that.
Awesome.
That they started. I think they are just awesome. You know, they're very helpful because you can talk to people who are going through something you're going through or have been through, you know, helping them out, you know. And I think it's good because you to talk to and, you know, connect with. It's very good. Very good. People that people that look like you and feel like you have been through, like I said, it's really good. Be a part of it.
That's good. And you meet people like Teresa, who's been fighting this fight for 19 years, raised her daughters in chemo in the hospital, right? Like, you know, she's such a role model, but that's what you're doing, Delta. It's like,
I relate
building her legacy here.
She's
very good, Delta. She's good with what she does.
She is.
I try.
She tries.
So Allie, do you worry about anything with your mom? You know, look at what a force she is. Don't you want to be like her when you grow up?
She's not gonna admit it and feel my head.
Aren't you proud of her? Yeah. Hey, Star, you want to say something, sweetie? Star 6.
Oh, Char.
Yeah, Charlotte.
You want to say hi again?
No, she wanted cake. That's why
she wants cake. Give her the cake.
She wanted cake. That's why I got
she gets what she wants.
Give the baby a 5, give her the cake. Right, right. Right.
Now, I was wondering, given everything that you've been through over the last 2 years, is there, something that you've learned about your family's health history that you've been able to share with the rest of the family during this whole journey, during this process? Something that you may have not been aware of before?
Honestly, I have not dug into my own family's medical history as much as I would like to. But I mean, I did discover my dad's sister passing from, I believe, breast cancer, where I just knew that like she had cancer when she died, which even just being made aware of that is kind of like a big step forward from my experience as like a 90s kid with the AIDS epidemic going on and people like really making it a shameful thing to pass from that disease to the point where it was like hidden, if someone died from it. And I was just talking to Allie about this, how that's just very common. And, you shouldn't be ashamed when you get a disease. It's not your fault, and it's not only hurting you when you keep it hidden, but it can, ripple down and hurt your loved ones who don't know that they're at risk and to look out for something. But what I've kind of done, what my focus has more been on is thinking of myself now as the family history, and being okay with like being that example and hopefully keeping other people safe. My mom just did genetic testing. And I, shared a bit about with my girls, and I don't want to overwhelm them, because they are young. But I just make sure that they have all the information they need, so they're kind of armed. They'll never have to wonder like, oh, what exactly did my mom have? What was her subtype? Because I keep all my records in a folder, in a binder, and so they'll have access to all of that.
Yeah.
That's so important. And I love the word armed. You really are arming them with this knowledge that, can help them in so many ways going forward and can save lives, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have any genetic mutations, Deltra?
I do. So I have, what do you call it? The BRCA1 mutation, which I think is pretty common in women of color.
Does your mom have it?
Do you have BRCA1 mutation?
No.
Tested negative for that. Okay. So maybe it came from your dad's side, from your aunt, right? You don't know, right? So do you get are you going to get the girls tested?
I had kind of inquired about that when I was newly diagnosed, but I was told that since they were minors, it wasn't something to be done, right now. So I just kind of let everyone know, like, listen, as soon as they're of age, remind them like you need to do this. But I'm sure that I am kind of the reminder enough, but it's a tough subject because of course you want your, there is a whole community within the breast cancer community of, women and men who call themselves, survivors. And of course, as a mom, that's, if my daughters have to be a part of the breast cancer community, that's the,
that's where you want them.
Right. They are going to be a part of the breast cancer community now in general, because mom is, and, it's a big part of our lives now.
Yep. I love how you use the word community, and then, I call it the choir and the breasty love or whatever. Like, describe that to people, because it's so hard for me to describe, like, it's a club that we don't want to be in, but once we're in it, it's like such precious, unconditional love. Like, describe that to somebody. How would you describe that to somebody who's not in it? Like, it's so hard.
Yeah, it is hard to describe. I feel like I've been really blessed to have like different communities within my life, like my friend groups can feel like communities because we have like, maybe a certain shared interest. And that's what this has been for me. It's just a community of people who really understand all of the feelings, all of the hard things that you go through, that even your loved ones who are right around you can't fully understand, you know, or that you just don't want to, you can discuss things that you maybe just don't want to discuss with your loved ones, you know. And it's really a community, like you said, of unconditional love, a ton of understanding and information sharing, which I really appreciate, you know, more than from my from my doctors. You know, I feel like I get a lot of information from within the breast cancer community of what I should bring up to my team even, and that's just really helpful. It's like a whole discussion within the community, like what we're trying to have happen in families.
We
Yeah.
had a great question, switching gears a little bit, about BRCA1 and these genes. Did you know anything about like cancer mutations and genes and all that stuff before this happened?
Nope, I had no idea. You know, I was completely ignorant to pretty much all things in the cancer universe. Like a lot of people, like there's no one who, you know, hasn't heard of cancer or been touched by it in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, I had no idea there were these mutations. I had no idea that there were different subtypes even of cancer, you know. Actually knowing that now makes it a bit easier for me when I'm interacting with other people and they, you know, try to give me advice on, you know, curing my cancer or something. I'm like, yeah, but there's different types of cancer and they all
Like,
can
why you
need to
don't
be
get a
treated in
lumpectomy?
different ways. Yeah.
That's right. And
Move.
not
Yeah.
only that, you know, a lot of times when we talk about Black breast cancer, people try to really pin it all on things like socioeconomics and, you know, the fact that Black women are less likely to breastfeed and more likely to live in impoverished areas and all these other things. And it's valid and it's relevant, but it's not the sum total of why we get what we get, you know, like everybody has a BRCA gene. So for people who are watching, because somebody asked a question in the chat about these genes, they're gatekeepers. Everybody has a BRCA1, a BRCA2. Everybody's got a P53 and a CHEK2 and a PALB and all those genes when you go and do 23andMe and the Ambry and the genetic testing, all that stuff, we all have them. But some of them sometimes have a change in them. They're like a ladder. And it's like the rungs on the ladder get broken. And if you break the ladder in two places, one side and two sides, if you break that ladder in both places, then you can't climb the ladder anymore, right? And that gene then has a change in it that predisposes you to making mistakes, whether it's in your breast or in your pancreas or in your thyroid. There's different gatekeepers for different parts of the body. And so we inherit these genes. Some genes are inherited mutations, meaning you get it from mom or dad, and it's a 50-50 chance of getting it. They don't skip generations, not the cancer ones. They don't skip. So you can't kind of go from like an auntie to like a niece. It's dad had it and maybe didn't know he had it, because men who have a BRCA mutation, only up to 8% of them will get breast cancer, and they don't have any ovaries. So that means 92% of them won't get breast cancer and they have no ovaries and they pass it to their daughters and never knew it. And so if you didn't get it from mom, chances are you did get it from dad, or you are now the first person de novo, again, the very first person in your family to have that mutation. And so for the person that asked in the box, you know, everybody has these genes, but when we hear family history, you know, young people with cancers like you, 3 or more relatives with certain types of cancers, it's a red flag, and it should be for your doctors to then do that genetic testing or offer that to you, and it's saliva or it's blood. And years ago, a lot of Black women really weren't getting tested. I mean, Ricky, you know, back when you got diagnosed 10 years ago, it was kind of like it was just getting started for Black women to even be tested. And for most women to be tested is only about 20 years old.
Yeah, I know. I had good advice from my doctor, a doctor friend, not my doctor, but a friend of mine who was a doctor that said, make sure you ask for genetic testing. And even back then, it wasn't as substantial as it is now. I just had the newer panel, you know, a couple years ago, which was a whole different experience. But also, you know, I don't have BRCA and I had triple negative. And I think that there's probably something that in the science that we haven't uncovered yet about triple negative and why Black women get it at twice the rate. And I think that's a science we're trying to get to, like, you know, because I'm calling it is a Black breast cancer, which brings up another topic that I know was a heated topic that I had with your mom a couple months ago about clinical trials. And, you know, how I really believe we need more science for our Black bodies to get the therapies that we need to understand our genetic a little better, right? So how are you feeling about clinical trials? What kind of advice would you give now about that?
You-
Mom, you want to talk
me?
about it?
I think it's good that they have the clinical trials and but that's Deltra's decision if she wants to get into one. But I don't know, because I don't have the, you know, I haven't been diagnosed with cancer, and I might, if I was, maybe I would do it if that was like the only option. You know, if I didn't have a lot of options, I probably would do the clinical trial. But that's her decision. If she wants to, I know we need them, you know, to see what works. And yeah,
Yeah, to learn. Yeah.
Mhm.
If you're like, not my baby.
that's
Not
what
Yeah,
I
did you
said.
hear that?
I
Advise
did
the
say
name.
that. And my granddaughter said the same thing when she was on that panel with us. No clue.
no clinical trials.
But you did
But
change my mind, Miss Ricky. So
I did.
yeah,
Say that again. Say that again.
you changed my mind about them. Yes.
and it's her
It is not just a last resort thing,
Mhm.
is what I understand. Now I understand, you know, that
I'm
you
so
still
happy.
get standard of care, so, and extra monitoring, which, you know, would make me feel give a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. And you know what, Deltra? Whatever you're taking right now is already kind of a clinical trial in your body, right? We
Yeah,
give these drugs. We
that's
don't
the
know if
truth.
it's gonna work,
And
right?
it's been tried,
That's the
right?
truth.
And it
Yeah.
was tried on women just like you, and some of them not like you, you know, and this is the really unique thing is that, you know, we don't know how a lot of these drugs work, especially in younger women. And we know that younger women tend to have more aggressive cancers. And if we can de-escalate, meaning if we can scale back some of the toxic stuff that we're giving women, like that's a huge thing. And if they can do it on you and it works, that will help so. And it's like when you go through the tolls and you have a little thing on your car that allows you to go into the speed lane and you don't have to stop and pay the tolls, right? So breast cancer is especially if it's ductal, think about it like a can of Pillsbury biscuits. And when that dough fills up the can and then it breaks open and the seal breaks and the can breaks open, that's now invasive. And so we go and do a biopsy and we stick a needle in that dough and we look at it under the microscope. And we want to see if it has these 3 stations on top that receive the signals from your body. Okay, so signals like estrogen. There's another signal like progesterone, which is a woman's hormone that helps our bodies to do things like have menstrual cycles. And then there's a third signal called HER2, and there's a protein on that cell that receives the signal from the bloodstream. So like a messenger, like a dollar when you go through the toll booth. If you got the toll booths, then we know you're using dollars. Women who don't have those toll booths are in the easy pass lane. So giving them a medicine to block their estrogen or take away their dollars would not be useful because they're not using dollars. They're not using estrogen to make cancers grow. Women who have the HER2 receptor, the HER2 receptor used to be a more aggressive type of breast cancer. HER2 positive used to be a much more aggressive type, but the medicine that we have for it now is called a monoclonal antibody, meaning it's specific just to that HER2 receptor. And so even though women have to get a type of chemotherapy for a whole year, they got to get Herceptin and Perjeta, it's not the toxic kind where you lose your hair and where you get nauseous all the time. Like women can come in once a month and get an infusion, and the mortality is the same as the other types of breast cancer because the medicine now is targeted to that receptor. So that's the HER2 positive ones. It means you got one of the toll booths, and the type of toll booth you got, if your tumor is even this big, 5 millimeters or more, you have to get a targeted medicine called Herceptin. And that medicine is given after chemo is given. So you could have stage 1 and still need chemo, even though you got ER positive, because that HER2 receptor needs a special kind of medicine. So that's my spiel on the receptors, is that they're like toll booths on the turnpike. And we look for them to know how to treat the whole body.
That's great. Great. So Allie, have you met any other friends whose mom have cancer? Scooch over to your mom so we can hear you.
I think so.
Does it help talking to people about it? Do you talk to your friends about it?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean,
Just
one of
a
my
regular
friends a
mom.
little bit, but
You got more important things to talk about than that.
Yep.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't take over, you know.
Yep. You
Oh.
like any boys? You like any boys?
Ricky.
Oh, boy. Justin Bieber.
You can tell me later. You can tell me later. Not yet.
I love it. I love it.
It's coming, Mom. Get ready, right? I still on the way, right?
What do we say to people watching who are afraid, right? Like they're newly diagnosed and they're just terrified and they don't really know what to do and they're like, what should I do? I want to go see my natural doctor and I don't want to do any chemo and I really don't want surgery and I really don't want radiation. I really don't want any of this. I wasn't prepared for this. What do we say to those people who are watching? Because they're watching.
And you're making it look so easy.
Have a party like that.
Have a party, what, Mom?
Celebrate big. Celebrate big, like Christmas time. Right after her diagnosis, she planned, I think she was planning like in case it was her last Christmas. So we had a family, big,
Grab her up.
big.
Grab her up.
We spent Christmas all together, her sisters, brothers, nieces. We all went to New Jersey and we stayed there for what, a few days?
Yeah.
Yeah. And celebrated Delta's Christmas.
Yes.
And look,
Do things big.
she's had more
Yeah.
Christmases, more Christmases, and more Christmas. But you know, when you're newly diagnosed, I can only imagine, especially with triple negative, stage 4, that you're gonna, this is it. So that's
Yeah.
celebrate
So,
you. Just
yes,
celebrating
definitely
you. That's what I. Because we're all somehow, we all have a number.
Delta, do me a favor and translate that. We can't hear any of it.
What'd she say?
Oh, sorry, not sure what you missed. But yeah, she was saying celebrate you, celebrate big, and that, we all have a number and don't know when we're gonna go. So not to focus so much on that. And I would say again, the thing that really was my saving grace was community. Leaning into community was really what happened when I was first diagnosed. I remember just feeling like I was kind of spiraling out of control emotionally, and somebody caught me. I was posting away in BC Healthline's app, and somebody reached out. Not just people were on my thread, but someone messaged me, which she's my original breastie now. We just met in real life in Florida in May. But she, reached out and was like, hey, you need to, take a deep breath. And just let me know that I would feel significantly better once I had a plan in place. And I didn't believe at the time, but that was really true. And it kind of continues to feel like that is very helpful, because then you feel like you're not just, sitting around. Once you have a team that you feel confident in, and I would definitely recommend going and getting second, third, whatever opinions you need to get, and when you have a team you feel confident in a plan that you feel good about, then you're just going to feel more hopeful naturally, And I would definitely say, like we always say in the For the Breast of Us Facebook group, there's nobody who wants to go through chemo or surgeries or radiations. But you have to, and we don't debate in that group about anything, but we just say, hey, let's look at the facts and let's look at what works best. And it's, when integrative and modern medicine come together is when we see the best results.
I love that.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. How do we get more families to talk and like engage in these conversations? Kind of the purpose of this whole pink table talk is to like bring these conversations. Like people should know about cancer before they get it. People should know about clinical trials before they need one. So how do you think we can get our people to like talk before they need this? you know what I mean, sort of understand it, and, talking, how do we get them to open up and, bring this to the kitchen table? And
Yeah.
then,
Do you want to
I
say
know.
something?
I know our family needs to bring it more to the table. Our males in our family,
Oh,
because
that's the
both of
males
my
in everyone's
sons,
family for sure.
yeah, both my sons, my oldest son, he's 45. I told him about the BRCA test, and I told my other son, my younger one, he's 34, and they're both like, my oldest son, I'm
scooch over, lean over.
you have a daughter,
Yeah.
I tell him, you have a daughter. He has a 13-year-old daughter. My youngest son don't have any daughters, but he has a son, And I said, it's important you get tested.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's true in general for males. A lot of times they like, I can't think of a better word, but a lot of males suck at maintaining their health. They're bad about going to doctor's
Right, they don't
appointments
go
in
back.
general. And so many of them are under the misconception that, like, especially breast cancer, thinking that it doesn't happen to them, But I really think that it has to start somewhere, having these conversations. And I really feel, of course, I feel like there's just so many things that families should be discussing that if it doesn't affect you, it's really, really easy to not, make the time to discuss it. Just like, when it comes to topics related to race, more and more families today, who aren't Black and brown are really trying to put in the effort to have those conversations that are important. I think, like I said earlier, cancer is so runs rampant in our world that there's no one and no family that it hasn't affected on some level. It might not be immediate family, but the conversations certainly still need to be had. And I think it starts with people like me. It starts with the person in your immediate family who's, been personally affected, making the decision to be really open and honest about it and letting other people in their family know, hey, this can affect you.
Yeah.
Wow. There it is. That's it. Absolutely.
Right. Gosh. Haley,
Take that.
anything for Deltra? Haley's been fighting these battles for, how long has the foundation been around? 15 years? Are we on 15 or 16?
Yes, since 2006. And
Wow.
the great thing is that I've seen so many success stories. I've seen so many women with metastatic disease live long lives and
thrive.
do well. So that's very encouraging. And just hearing these conversations, it's inspiring because this is exactly what needs to happen. And I think, Delta, you're right. So many families now, just with the political climate, are having so many conversations that they wouldn't normally have with their kids and their spouses. And, it's just so important across the board, but especially when it comes to your health, because these are the conversations that can save lives. If you know that you have a genetic mutation, for example, you can be under surveillance and find things really early on where they're not as big of an issue. So I think it's, everything that you're saying is just really resonating with me and with all the experience I've had with patients and survivors.
Haley, where can people go to find that community, especially with triple negative breast cancer? Where can they go to find your community and be a part of it?
Well, you can always find us on our website, tnbcfoundation.org. We have discussion forums that are available 24 hours a day, and they're separated by different categories that our community members said that they wanted. So there's a community for people who want to discuss this from a spiritual standpoint and have, bring their faith into their journey. There is a community for metastatic patients. There are, and for survivors, people, who are newly diagnosed, so many different ways. We also have, obviously, our Facebook pages and our Facebook groups that are private groups. And then, of course, there is Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance, and Ricky does such tremendous work to bring the community together in that way as well. So just so many joint programs that we have and individual programs that our two organizations have that, you know, touch on exactly what Deltra said, which is this bringing together our community, because no one can help you like someone who's walking in your shoes. They understand what you're going through. And through both our organizations, I think you can really find that sense of community, and other amazing organizations as well that exist.
Yeah, Haley, also, they have on Tuesdays with TNBC Friends on the first Tuesday of the month. Yep, and we have our Touch Talk on the first Saturday of the month. It's this Saturday at 11 if you want to join us. It's all on our Facebook page. But
And
we have a
Metastatic
great-
Mondays.
And yeah, Metastatic Mondays. And so,
Metastatic Mondays.
yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness, this has been like really inspiring to me and to people watching. And I just thank you guys so much. I mean, I'm just like, this is an amazing story, like right in the middle of it, you know, and your story is far, far from done. And I'm excited to see what you're going to do next as far as advocacy, and outreach, and teaching and education, and even just in your personal life. Will you come back and update us on everything and how you're doing, and keep us posted?
Absolutely.
Yeah, living your purpose, living your purpose. Oh, I got jobs for you, girl. Don't worry.
I
It's
know
true.
you will.
She will
You
put
know
you
I
to work.
do.
Her and Haley, they'll put you to work.
Yeah, you know we got.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna call you tomorrow. Thanks so much, Mom.
Mhm.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so
guys.
much for joining us. This was a great discussion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, yeah. Thanks
Yep,
to our
so-
sponsors. Yeah.
Thanks to our sponsors, Haley, Amgen, and ASI, and Merck, who help
And
us
Merck.
fund. Yep, and Jeanette Tech, we appreciate you, and we will keep doing this and keep having these conversations. And I want everybody to toast to a conversation at your kitchen table with your family right now. Go have one. Schedule one. Everybody,
it is.
everybody to brunch, and we'll all sit down and talk about this stuff.
That's right. We hope this has been relatable and reliable and real. That's what we set out to do every single Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. So thank you guys for joining us, and the doctor is in.
Fresty love. Fresty love. Fresty love. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Bye, Allie. Bye, Carolyn. Thank you, guys.